You've probably felt it before, haven't you? That sinking weight in your chest when a woman looks at you not with love, not even with anger, but with indifference. And if you've ever gone through a breakup or divorce, you know that silence, that sudden distance, feels more devastating than any fight. But here's what no one ever told you. Women aren't just randomly walking away. They don't just wake up one morning and decide to break your heart. No, most women have been planning their exit long before you even see it coming. And that's why it hurts so much. By the time you realize something is wrong, she's already halfway out the door. Men ask me every single day, why is it always her leaving me? Why is she the one filing for divorce, breaking up, moving on so fast? And the truth is brutal. Women initiate the majority of divorces, and it's not because men are always villains. It's because women act differently when it comes to love and commitment. Men often endure, tolerate, and adapt. Women, on the other hand, are more likely to walk away the moment they feel unseen, unheard, or unfulfilled. Society even normalizes it for them, and you've probably been taught to ignore the warning signs, to believe that if you just provide, if you just love hard enough, if you just wait it out, things will get better. But that's the exact trap that keeps men blindsided. Think about it. How many times have you noticed her withdrawing, her tone changing, her intimacy fading, but you convinced yourself it was just a phase? How many times did you tell yourself she'll come back around, only for her to instead pull away completely? This is why so many men feel betrayed, not because she left suddenly, but because she left silently. By the time she's done, she's emotionally checked out months, maybe even years, before she tells you it's over. And this is the reality you were never supposed to know. Women are taught from a young age to prioritize their happiness, even if it means walking away from a man who has given them everything. Now let me pull back the curtain on the real psychology behind why women leave more than men. Because once you see it, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Most men don't realize this, but when a woman finally decides to end it, she's been keeping score for years. Not score like points in a game, but emotional tallies. Moments where she felt ignored. Moments where she felt you didn't understand her. Moments where she compared you to the fantasy in her head and you came up short. And here's the cruel twist. She often never tells you directly what's missing. Instead, she drops subtle hints, vague complaints, or cold silences. And when you don't decode them, because you're not a mind reader, she interprets that as you not caring. It's not fair, but it's real. Psychologists have long observed that women are more emotionally expressive, while men are conditioned to be steady, calm, and logical. That same difference becomes a ticking time bomb in relationships. When issues pile up, a man may think, things aren't perfect, but they're fine, while a woman feels like she's drowning inside. And instead of yelling for help, she often retreats emotionally, waiting to see if you notice her pain without her having to beg for attention. When you don't, she tells herself the relationship has failed her. That's why women are far more likely to initiate divorce. They see their silence as proof of incompatibility, while men see it as nothing more than a quiet phase. And here's the part that really shocks men. Many women don't leave when the relationship is at its worst. They leave when you think things are stable. Why? Because she's been planning her exit in silence. She's already emotionally detached, maybe even fantasized about a different life, maybe even a different man. By the time she files the papers, she's already grieved the relationship, but you haven't. That's why you feel crushed and blindsided, while she feels relieved and free. If you've ever been left, you probably replayed every moment, every mistake, trying to figure out what went wrong. But the truth is, it wasn't just one thing. It was the accumulation of small things, resentments, unmet expectations, silent disappointments, that built into a wall too tall for you to climb. And because men are taught to endure, to fix, to stay, you never saw that wall until she stood on the other side of it. This is the unspoken truth behind why she walks away first. It's not sudden. It's a silent build-up. And if you ignore the silence, it will cost you everything. Here's a truth that will sting. Women don't just leave because they're unhappy. They leave because they believe they can do better. And that belief is reinforced everywhere: movies, social media, friends, even family. From a young age, women are told not to settle, to never waste their prime years on a man who doesn't meet their expectations. Meanwhile, men are taught the opposite: be loyal, provide, endure. So when problems arise, men often double down on effort, while women double down on exit strategies. Think about how society frames it. When a man walks away from a marriage, he's labeled a coward, a deserter, selfish. But when a woman leaves, she's praised for being brave, independent, or choosing herself. Divorce lawyers even market directly to women with slogans like, "Take back your life." The system is tilted in her favor, and she knows it. That's why nearly 70% of divorces are filed by women. They don't just feel justified, they feel supported by the world for making that decision. But there's another layer, a darker one, that most men never see. Women don't just leave for freedom. They often leave because they already have a safety net. Sometimes it's emotional support from friends who cheer her on. Sometimes it's financial leverage. And sometimes it's another man waiting quietly in the background. That doesn't mean every woman cheats, but many women won't jump into the unknown unless there's a softer landing. So while you're still invested, thinking about vacations, mortgages, or the future, she may already be building her plan B. And here's where men get crushed. You don't just lose her, you lose the life you built around her. She might walk away with custody, with financial support, with the house you worked for, and you're left asking yourself how you didn't see it coming. That's the cold reality. Men often pay the heaviest price for women leaving, not just emotionally, but legally and financially. So why do women file more than men? Because the world tells them they can. Because they're praised for leaving, but men are shamed for staying silent. Because they're taught their happiness is more important than commitment. And because, deep down, they believe they can replace what they have with something better. That's the part men were never supposed to know, until now. If you've ever wondered why women can walk away from years of marriage, children, and a life you sacrificed for, without hesitation, it's because of one simple truth. Women are driven by emotions, not by logic, when it comes to love. A man will stay in a relationship that feels heavy, imperfect, even cold, because he sees value in stability. He'll tell himself, "I made a vow, I built this, I can endure." But a woman will leave the moment her heart no longer feels alive. That's why you see men holding on long after the spark fades, and women walking away while their husbands are still fighting to keep the family together. And here's the brutal part. Women don't usually remember the good times when they decide to leave. They remember the moments of neglect, the arguments, the boredom, the times they felt invisible. Their brain rewires the entire relationship around those memories. It's not that she forgot the laughter, the dates, the milestones. It's that those moments stop carrying weight once her emotional needs feel unmet. To her, those memories become hollow, drowned out by the growing emptiness she feels today. This is why men often describe the woman they loved as suddenly turning into a stranger. Because once her emotions shift, her entire narrative changes. She can look at the same marriage, the same man, and see only disappointment where she once saw love. And you, still holding on to the stability you worked so hard to build, are left confused, begging, bargaining, trying to prove your worth. But here's the cruel irony. The moment you start begging for her love back, she loses even more respect for you. Because women are drawn to strength, certainty, and leadership. When you collapse, when you plead, when you chase, she only feels more justified in leaving. And make no mistake, once she makes the decision, it's final in her mind. Men often think they can talk her into staying, win her back with logic, or remind her of the history you've built. But women don't leave because of logic, so logic can't bring them back. They leave because their emotions have already decided. And once her emotions are gone, she's gone. That's the reality most men never learn until it's too late. There's something most men don't realize until after the breakup or divorce. Women don't just leave you, they reinvent themselves after you. And that reinvention is what cuts the deepest. You'll see her suddenly glowing, posting pictures online, hitting the gym, changing her hair, living like she's 20 again. And you'll sit there asking yourself, where was this energy when she was with me? Why didn't she fight for us the way she's fighting for her new life? The truth is brutal. She had already given up on the relationship long before you even knew it was dying. That new version of her isn't created after she leaves. It's been slowly building in secret while you were still fighting to keep things together. This is what men describe as the most painful betrayal. You gave her stability, love, sacrifice, maybe even children. Yet she takes the best years of your effort and then uses her fresh start to enjoy it with someone else. And the world claps for her. Friends say, you deserve better. Social media tells her, live your truth. But when a man reinvents himself after heartbreak, he's called selfish or cold. The double standard is everywhere, and it's crushing men silently. And here's the part no one admits. Many women stay in relationships only until they feel safe enough to leave. They may not have the money, the plan, or the courage, until one day they do. And when they finally step out, they often act like they've been set free from a prison. But what they forget is that the man they left was the very man who gave them the life, the home, the security, to even imagine a new chapter. For men, this is devastating because love is loyalty. When you love, you commit fully, and leaving feels like betrayal of everything sacred. But for many women, love is conditional. It exists only as long as they feel fulfilled. Once that feeling fades, they don't see leaving as betrayal. They see it as survival. And that's why men struggle to process it. Because you loved with permanence, but she loved with condition. That truth explains why she left, why she moved on so quickly, and why you're left picking up the pieces. Let's talk about something men rarely hear. The warning signs are almost always there, but you've been conditioned to ignore them. You think loyalty means overlooking the coldness in her touch, the distance in her voice, the way her eyes wander when you're speaking. You convince yourself that all couples go through dry spells, that she'll come around if you just wait it out. But waiting it out is what destroys you. Because when a woman starts emotionally checking out, every day you ignore it is another day she rewrites the story in her mind. From we're struggling to he'll never change to finally, I need to leave. The most dangerous sign isn't when she's yelling at you. It's when she stops fighting altogether. When she no longer argues, no longer complains, no longer tells you what's wrong. That's when you should be worried. Because that silence isn't peace, it's detachment. It means she's no longer investing energy in fixing the relationship. She's already withdrawing her emotions and testing how life feels without you. Men mistake this quiet for stability, but it's actually the sound of a relationship dying. Another brutal truth is that women often start reshaping their identity before they ever walk out. You'll notice her dressing differently, spending more time with new friends, diving into hobbies or routines that exclude you. These aren't random changes. They're rehearsals for a life without you in it. And while you're still thinking, she's just exploring herself, she's actually erasing the version of herself that existed with you. By the time she leaves, she's already built a new life mentally. That's why she moves on so quickly. Because in her mind, she already left months ago. And here's what hurts men the most. When you finally realize something is wrong and try to fix it, it's too late. You'll buy flowers, plan dates, make promises, but she won't see the effort anymore. She'll only see it as desperation, as proof that you never listened until the threat of losing her became real. That's why so many men feel like they did everything at the end, but still lost her. Because once she emotionally exits, there is no coming back. That's not a phase, it's her final decision. Men describe divorce as sudden, while women describe it as inevitable. You were living in two different realities all along, but here's the hope in all of this. Awareness is power. If you can understand how women think, if you can recognize the signs before it's too late, if you can lead with presence instead of passivity, you don't just protect your relationship, you elevate it. Women don't want perfection. They don't want endless money or status. What they crave is a man who never stops seeing them, never stops leading with strength and warmth, never stops making them feel like they are chosen every single day. That is the antidote to the quiet decay that kills most relationships. The truth is, women file for divorce more not because they are disloyal, but because men underestimate how deeply a woman needs to feel alive in love. You can't simply hold her body and expect her heart to follow. You can't give her security without passion, or passion without safety. She needs both, and when you master that balance, you become unforgettable. When you fail, you become replaceable. So ask yourself right now, is the woman in your life thriving with you, or is she quietly fading while you look the other way? Don't wait until the silence becomes permanent. Don't wait until her smile belongs to someone else. Start leading with the man she first admired, but with even more depth, more vision, and more presence than before. That's how you break the cycle. That's how you keep her love from becoming another statistic. Now I want to hear from you. Be brutally honest. Do you believe men or women give up on love more easily? And why? Drop your answer in the comments. If this message shook something inside you, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share this video with a man who needs to hear it before it's too late. So now you understand why women leave more than men, why they file for divorce, why they walk away even when everything seems stable. It's not random, it's not sudden, it's emotional, cultural, and deeply ingrained. But here's the part most men miss. Her leaving does not define you. What defines you is how you respond. Because too many men collapse under the weight of heartbreak. They drink, they beg, they lose themselves completely. And in doing so, they confirm the very story she told herself. That you weren't strong enough, that you couldn't lead, that leaving was the right choice. But there's another path. A man who sees the truth, who understands these dynamics, doesn't break. He transforms. He doesn't chase a woman who has already chosen to go. He doesn't waste years of his life trying to win back someone who already replaced him in her heart. Instead, he builds himself so powerfully that her leaving becomes the greatest turning point of his life. That pain becomes fuel, that silence becomes focus, and that heartbreak becomes the very thing that wakes him up to who he was always meant to be. Because here's the final truth. Women may leave, but men endure. And if you learn to endure the right way, not by tolerating mistreatment, not by suffering in silence, but by building unshakable strength, you will never be destroyed by a woman's decision again. You'll stop fearing abandonment, because you'll know that no matter who stays or who goes, you remain a man of value, a man of purpose, a man who cannot be broken. So let me ask you something personal. Have you ever been left by a woman you thought would never walk away? Have you ever sat in that silence, staring at the pieces of your life, wondering how she moved on so easily while you were left bleeding? I want you to answer that in the comments below, because your story might be the one that saves another man from feeling alone in his pain. And if this message hit you, if it woke something up inside you, then don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe for more, and share it with a friend who needs to hear it right now. Because no man deserves to stay blind to a truth this important.